Hey guys, what's going on? Nathan here, coming at you today with a video on tips of how to improve shooting your bow and to be more accurate and consistent and to get you ready for this year's bow season. Guys, it's June 2nd today, and this is my first outing shooting. I finally got to the bow shop and ordered a couple more arrows, upgraded my stabilizer, and did a couple ins and out things that I wanted to get done before I started just consistently shooting. Just this year I am leaps and bounds ahead of where I normally am. Normally I'm the last minute guy. I don't know, I just let things fall behind. I get behind from doing food plots, and I do it to myself. But this year I'm on top of it and I have a good evening here. So I'm gonna try to start making it a thing to where I shoot once a week, even if it's just 30 arrows, you know, just one night a week to improve my shooting skills. But guys, I got 6 target things to focus on to really keen in on making you a better shot. And number one, like I already said, speak from what I've already said. If you find that one night a week, I know everybody's busy, I'm the same way. If you can just find time once a week, even between now and deer season, shoot one time 30, 40, 50, 60 arrows, whatever you have time for. You know, it's just gonna make you that much better for deer season. I know everybody wants that. Whenever that one shot comes, whenever it comes bow season, you're not gonna want to screw it up, and you'll be glad that you did, and all your hard work that you have practiced and prepped for will all pay off. And so tonight I'm picking up my bow, and deer season 2021 starts right now. Alright guys, so the second thing I want to talk about, super important. I don't know if one of these is more important than the other, but I think they're all pretty equally important, is anchoring. Whenever you go to pull your bow back, some people like a kisser button. Some people, if you're like me, I like to use the very tip of my nose in the same spot of the string I see as I'm drawing back. And then really just anchoring how you hold your bow in general. Right now I'm going to do an example of how I hold it. Like I said, some people like a kisser button. That was never for me. But it's just important to get into the habit of anchoring to the same place every time, because what you're trying to do is to make everything the exact same. So whenever you get keyed in on bullseye or the target you're aiming for, everything can be as close to exactly the same every shot as you can possibly get it. So right now I'm going to draw back and show the front and side view of what my anchoring looks like. And from right here I can see my spot on my string on the tip of my nose, and that's exactly where it goes every time, and how my bow is held comfortably. I know I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. Now from the side, find my spot, I got my nose exactly where I always put it, and I line my sights up accordingly to whatever I'm aiming at. So anchoring is super important when it comes to being consistent and staying accurate. Find what works for you. If you haven't heard of a kisser button, check them out. Somewhere where you just, and it goes on the side of your mouth, and that's why they call it the kisser button. And then you draw back, and they can fit it up for you. And then you have that same spot every time. I like my string on the nose in a certain spot I have marked, to each their own. So that's just my tip for anchoring for you. So the next tip I want to talk about is the death grip, or what I call the death grip. So there's an ongoing controversy of some people like to shoot their bow with an open hand while they are drawn back, and some people like to have a loose grip, and then some people, just out of not knowing or just don't care, they death grip their bow because they're pulling all that weight back and they're gripping their bow with their fist, which can tend to lead to flinching at the last second, or your muscles just starting to get tired and a little bit more shaking from fatigue. So I personally use a wrist strap, so if I were to drop my bow, it would catch it, and I know it's at least not going to hit the ground, even if it does fall forward and all funky. But I've never had that problem because it's your reaction to grab it after you shoot, and it takes a little while to get used to if you've never done it before. But get you a wrist strap and just practice it and try it, and I think you'll like it. But if not, I mean, for years I even shot to my best of my ability, loose grip. The reason I went away from loose grip was because I found myself, after I started getting tired, I'd start gripping it tighter and tighter and tighter, and the more and more I shot, the less accurate my shots became. So I found myself then drawing and shooting with an open grip. And so that's exactly how I shoot, just like that. Now, the other part of that I want to talk about, I really didn't start focusing on until about last year, and when I really started noticing, just like everything else, the longer I shot, the more inaccurate I became, not only because of fatigue, but from the other end of that, I was gripping my release aid. I use a release aid. Some people shoot fingers, some people shoot with the little pistol grip. It's all personal preference, whatever you like is great. I use a release, but I was taking my release, and instead of holding the handle tight, I was gripping my release with a grip of death. And I was squeezing this thing so tight, thinking that I was helping myself out. And it wasn't until I realized that if I let go completely and let my wrist hold it, it's just one less thing that I'm sitting here trying to hold and shake. So I did that. And then I do my reach around from there, and we'll talk more on that in a minute. That's just another focus point to be thinking about, because even as I'm sitting here holding this bow now, I can feel my muscles getting weaker and weaker, and my natural reaction is to grab my release aid. And so I'm training myself. I keep my finger behind my trigger at all times. I'm training myself to keep my hand off my release aid, let my wrist do the work, let my palm of my hand that's holding my bow hold, and go from there. And like I said, right now, I wish I was a little more toned for this, but this is my first time shooting this year, so I can already tell how shaky I am just holding it for 20 seconds there. So something to focus on. I'm gonna do a little demonstration of a death grip with both my hand and release aid, and then the difference in shooting with open grip, and see the accuracy that you guys can hopefully see the difference. Hopefully I don't shoot good on both. I'm only shooting at 30 yards in my backyard. That's all I got in my range. If I want to shoot further, I go out to my parents' land, and I shoot much further there, but we'll talk more about all that later. So first up, I'm gonna go ahead and shoot the death grip, and we'll see how we do. I'm gonna death grip the release aid and the bow. Oh, this feels weird because I'm trying to teach myself how to do this. I am aiming for the bottom left circle. Wow. It's hard to see with my tall weeds, but I can already tell that I did not hit near that bottom left circle. This is also hard for me to do because I do not shoot like this normally, but I'm just trying to show an example of consistency. Death grip, same hole. Okay, that one felt a little better, even though I was death gripped. Now, I'm gonna shoot for the bottom right, and I'm gonna loose grip everything. Alright guys, a fourth thing I want to talk about now is punching the release aid. On staying as accurate and consistent as possible, one of the last things you want to do is find yourself punching the release aid. What I mean by punching is when you take your release aid and you're about to shoot and you think you're on the bullseye and you pull real hard, or not even real hard, but just even like that. Punching the release aid is going to end just like death gripping a bow. It's going to get to where you're getting tired and you're just ready to pull the trigger, and at the last second you flinch down and your arrow goes up, or you flinch vice versa, up and it goes down. And at a far shot, that can make or break your shot. Whether you completely miss or wound the animal or whatever happens. you definitely don't want to be punching your release. So I like to get in the habit, like I said, when I pull back, I always keep my hand, my finger behind my trigger, so I have no chance of letting go and dry firing, because that's the last thing I want to do. And I pull back, and when it comes time, and I'll do an example of this, I lightly take my finger around and get it on there. But until then, I keep it behind it. Nothing crazy, but just behind it enough so I know nothing's going to trigger it to go forward. Now, when you do get it to go forward, what you want to do is you want to just barely get your finger on there, and you want to just start crawling. I say crawling, but as slow as you can and in control. Almost let it be a surprise for you, to where you're just pulling, you're not sure when it's going to go, and finally it snaps open. That way, you're focused on hovering your sight exactly over bullseye, or whatever you're aiming at. And the next thing you know, you're hovering over it, and your release has already gone off, and you're still hitting your target, and there's no muscle flinching here or there. It's a total surprise to you, and you're holding it to where you can, and it just goes all on its own. So that's what I'm going to work on right now, and show my example of me shooting with not punching the trigger. And I can do... So my first example is going to be slowly pressing my release trigger and letting it be a surprise. I'm shooting at the right bottom dot. Hold on, Ram. Hold on, little baby. Rammy, hold on. Alright guys, the next tip I want to talk about to make you a better shooter, to make you more accurate and consistent, and to really, this one is to get you more ready for the actual situation of shooting a deer, is what I call the holding drill. So I like to get everything ready. I'll have an arrow ready on my bow. Step away here, grab an arrow. I'll get everything all set up as if I'm hunting. And I'll go over to my phone and I'll pull up my little stopwatch app here. Or not stopwatch, but timer. And you can just come in here and set you a timer for as long as you need. This being the beginning of the shooting season for me, I'll probably just do 30 seconds to start out with. And typically I'll do like 35, so I have 5 seconds to draw my bow back. And then I know I'm getting roughly 30 seconds. So what I'll do is I'll hit start. I'll come over here. And I hold, and I aim, and I hold, and I try to be still, and I focus my pin on bullseye, floating to the best of my ability, focusing on not death gripping my handle, not death gripping my release egg, focusing on my target, where I'm looking at in my peep sight, and remembering to breathe. My alarm goes off, I make the shot. And I do that. And I'll do that for a whole set of arrows. I'll shoot 4 or 5, and then I'll go check and see my consistency and accuracy. And after practicing that over and over and over again, I find it getting better and better and closer. And all that's doing is just preparing you for when you get that time in the woods while you're pulled back on a deer and the deer freezes and stops and you gotta sit there and hold it and you can't let down, and you're training for that situation. And then as I get stronger and stronger, I'll let my time go up more and more. I think last year sometime I was holding my bow for 1 minute and 30 seconds, and just out of sheer preparation. There's probably no reason if I pull my bow back at the right time that I'll have to hold it that long, but you just never know what's going to happen in the woods. So I like to do that drill to make myself a better, more consistent shooter. All right guys, and the last thing I want to talk about is I just started doing this 2 years ago actually, and I found it has made me 100% a better shot. And it's really intimidating at first, and if you've never done it, you got to just kind of go put yourself out there and find yourself a good spot to shoot. But I like to shoot far distances, like 60 and 70 and 80 yards, to train for closer distances, because if you can hit a piece of paper at 70 and 80 yards away, imagine how easy it'll be to hit the little fist-sized target at 30 and 40 yards. It's night and day difference, and it really makes a big difference overall. So I can only strongly, unfortunately, with my little 30-yard range here, I don't have the ability to show you that. So I just want to talk about it for a second, that how important and critical it can be practicing long range shots. And just like I'm shooting my bow now, I would shoot 4 or 5 at the target, retrieve them, come back, make sure I'm getting a little rest in between, and apply all of the same tips we just covered to every aspect of me shooting, to build consistency, repetition, so whenever it's game time and you're in the woods and you're ready to shoot at that deer that you're after, you come down to it and you make the right shot, the perfect shot, the kill shot, and that things go your way. Guys, these have been 6 helpful tips and hints that I like to just talk about and tell people who are either new to bow hunting, or even if they just need a little refresher, because even myself from time to time catch myself slipping from one of the 6, and I gotta refresh my brain to say, hey, I'm gonna make myself better if I just do this. So I hope this video has been helpful for you. Guys, a lot of videos coming up. Austin and Ryan are heading to New York to do some smallmouth fishing on the St. Lawrence River in New York. All kinds of good stuff coming there, and we'll be getting back to Lake of the Ozarks here soon. I'm excited to get LiveScope going again. I got my trolling motor batteries fixed from the last outing for me, and LiveScope's ready to roll, so I can't wait to get back out there and to catch some more fish. Guys, thanks again for tuning in. I hope you liked the video, and stay tuned for some more.